chaotic moments on paternity court.
Your Honor, don't make me do you up in this court.
Do me up in here.
You are lying. You are lying.
Do me up.
Kendall was only 2 months old. Me and my mother was sitting on my porch. You came over there. Is that my baby?
She's correct. I haven't done much because of the situation being the way that it is between her and I.
That has nothing to do with our daughter.
Paternity of the
she
child.
still needs food. She still needs daycare.
And you still need to prove that she mine.
In a courtroom drama that's juicier than the latest reality TV show, we delve into the case of Bruce v. Miller. The suspense is already mounting as a woman accuses her ex-boyfriend of shirking his parental responsibilities for their 17-month-old daughter, Nevaeh.
What does he do for your daughter?
He hasn't done anything for my daughter all this year.
I've been there the whole time that she was pregnant and, but this year, she's correct. I haven't done much because of the situation being the way that it is between her and I.
That has nothing to do with our daughter.
Paternity of the
she
child.
still needs food. She still needs daycare.
And you still need to prove that she mine.
A relationship that's as stable as a Jenga tower during an earthquake is what these guys shared. No surprise they ended up in court, right? Baby daddy and mommy's on-again, off-again romance took center stage, and pretty soon, the infidelity accusations were ruling the court.
We talked for a minute. I wasn't really interested. We didn't really talk much for a few years, and then he contacted me on Facebook, and we've been talking ever since.
Talking, what's that mean?
Well,
you've been doing more than talking if Nevaeh,
right?
And he could potentially be the father.
It moved kind of quickly. He moved in, and then we started to.
So wait, how quickly after you met did he move in?
Very soon, like a month.
Time to make this gravy thicken. While the baby mama was all okay with taking the DNA test, Mr. Miller kept questioning the paternity of Nevaeh, and their chaotic mess deprived the baby of the joy and comfort of being born. So much so that her day of arrival turned into a mess as well.
And we discussed getting a DNA test, and I was okay with that because we hadn't been together. I was okay with getting the DNA test.
Oh, so immediately there was a discussion of a DNA test.
Yeah, no, it was fine.
So immediately you expressed that you may or may not be the father of this child.
Going into her pregnancy, she wasn't even 4, maybe 5 months pregnant before I was like, hey.
Now hold on to your seats, as the baby daddy wasn't done speaking. He was here to share his heart, and he surely did. The baby was here now, and the gifts started pouring in. However, one particular onesie gift from a friend stood out the most. Here's why.
He gave me a gift with some onesies in it. One of the onesies specifically said, my daddy is the blank. Okay, I won't say the name because the name that was on the onesie is a nickname that the friend goes by.
What? So you say this friend who started acting funny brings you 2 onesies for the baby?
Mm-hmm.
Time for the conception window to open up and reveal all its naughty little secrets. It seemed Miss Bruce's car had been out and about in a certain neighborhood, and that further fueled the baby daddy's doubt. Desperation and suspicion were the order of the day, people.
Out there, it's a residential neighborhood. Ain't no stores out there, no clubs, no place but somebody's house.
Her car was spotted in this neighborhood.
Right, not once, twice somebody done called me.
But did you see my car? Did you see it?
No, I never said that I saw her car. I said someone has reached out to me and said they seen my baby mama car in this man's neighborhood.
Next up, the desperation and the palpable tension continue. The on-again, off-again, pretty much open relationship of their lives was what got them in this paternity mess in the first place. But hold on, baby mama brought out the good old birth certificate.
Mr. Miller was there for the birth?
He was there for the birth because I asked him to be because a month prior to that, he was MIA. He left my house when I was 8 months pregnant, claimed it was for his daughter, but she never once went to that house, ever.
Oh, why she ain't go
And then
there?
when I
Why
tried,
she ain't been there?
then when I tried to establish paternity,
why my daughter ain't come to my house?
Excuse me.
I signed the birth certificate, so technically it is my daughter.
It is.
So Mr. Miller testified that it was medically impossible for him to have fathered a kid. It was possible to have that particular issue, and so the baby daddy was even more sure of his claim. And he was pretty eager to act out what he felt.
Hearing this just confirms that thought that I had. You know, I don't want her to just, oh, that's your baby, oh, that's your baby, that's your baby, that's your baby, that's your baby. Like it was just me that you was dealing with.
All right, so Ms. Bruce, has your position changed?
Nope, it looks like he's clear from here on out. He shouldn't have any more kids, but he's got mine.
Well, we'll see.
They were swimming fine then.
Okay.
Hold your breath, guys. The final moment was here, finally. In a suspenseful climax, the paternity results were ready to be revealed. Let's see what fate had in store for these guys and the kid in question.
Bruce versus Miller. When it comes to 17-month-old Nevaeh Miller. It has been determined by this court. Mr. Miller, you are the father.
Yeah, okay.
The plaintiff stepped into the courtroom and claimed that he had been bamboozled into child support. But hold on, there was more. The defendant fired back with accusations of her own. Yup, this showdown was sure to get chaotic. So, let's get into it.
Mr. Robinson is denying your son only because he was summoned to pay more than $13,000 in back child support.
We had got a letter in mail saying that he was $13,000 arrearage in back time child support.
So before this letter, you didn't know he was even the father?
Well, a whirlwind romance between Mr. Robinson and Miss Grant took place. The guys only had 3 kids at that time. But then, things get complicated. They're pointing fingers, signing papers, and raising doubts. It's like a soap opera, only with more child support drama.
He was not in their life. I made him get in their life. Told him that you doing for my kids, you need to do for your own.
Yeah,
all
that's
of a
not
sudden,
You say that's not true, Ms.
No,
Grant?
my son never went around them.
yes, he did.
And Dexter did claim my child because I have proof here where he went to sign papers and everything.
Yeah, he did sign
And
the
then
paper, but he
when I-
signed the
when I
birth
was in the
certificate.
hospital,
Will you hand
He
me?
didn't
You
sign
said
the
you have
birth
proof?
certificate.
Yes.
Well. The baby mama shed some light on how this sordid love affair began. It all started in the backseat of a burgundy Bonneville in 1989, and it was a special day for the baby daddy, so he demanded a special gift from the defendant. And the rest was history.
We started dating October the 7th, 1989.
They
We'll
were
go
not
to
never
the-
in a relationship.
Your Honor, yes, we are. And as a matter of fact, where was you in 1989 when we was together?
Well,
How did you know
I'm
what
with
was
him
going
now.
on?
I'm with him now.
Dexter, I slept with you. I did not sleep with your
Well,
wife. Could you
well,
please tell her that we was
it's my
together?
responsibility now because of
where's we
09.
together?
So for 2 decades, Mr. Robinson believed he was the father, and so he kept paying child support as well. The situation took a drastic turn just a couple of years ago, when a random encounter with a man turned the situation upside down. And now they were here in paternity court for some much needed answers.
At some point after you signed this acknowledgement, someone came up to you and said, I'm
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Christian's father?
Yes, Your Honor.
And this was just 2 years ago?
Yes, Your Honor.
So all of these years, over 20 years, you thought Mr. Christian was your son and you were paying support?
Yes, Your Honor.
Next up, we get to see a courtroom where accusations fly left and right. If you thought Mr. Ellis was here to uncomplicate things, you would be sorely mistaken, because he came and then there was just unadulterated chaos from every side.
He came to me and he said, I heard that Martez was your son. I said, well, hey, man, hey, look, I didn't tell you to go up there and sign them papers, so that's on you. He is my son because of his mom approached me and said once.
And I
to go.
never, Your Honor, I
Oh,
never
yes,
in my
yes.
life told him.
Finally, the star of the show took center stage. Mr. Christian came forward and shared his version of the story. Now, for 24 years, he had known that there were 2 possible fathers, and this information was delivered to him by the baby mama. Well, she left that out from her earlier testimony.
Your son's saying that you honestly told him it could be either of these 2 men. In your prior testimony, you said you were only sleeping with Mr. Ellis way before Mr. Robinson.
I was telling the truth earlier. But you know, as a young girl, the community say, he look like him, he look like this, and he look like... So, okay, they drilled it in my head, and I'm like, I know when I had him.
2 possible fathers, and no relationship with either of them. Yep, that was the life of Mr. Christian. Now he was all grown up, and he did all that on his own. That was indeed commendable. Kudos to him.
So you
Your
felt
Honor, we sent
rejected
him
by
money.
his family.
Yes, ma'am.
Your Honor, we
And they
sent
would
him
tell
money.
you you're not.
When did you send me money?
We sent you money
When?
to Western Union back in
You show
09.
me a receipt and I'll tell you that I'm a lie.
You say you've never received any
Never
money.
received money from either one of them. Throughout college, throughout everything. Like I got a full athletic scholarship, well, running track at Mississippi State.
It was time to give the people what they came all this way for. Yep, the DNA results were in, and the judge was ready to roll them out. Let's see which truth was sealed shut in that envelope.
It has been determined by this court. Mr. Eddie Ellis, you are not the father. Mr. Dexter Robinson, you are not the father.
Nobody else?
There has to be at least one more, and I know that's a long time to think back.
In a world shrouded in secrets, we have Miss Miles for you, who thought her biological father was pushing up daisies. She had lived without him all her life until a plot twist rocked her world 3 years ago. The defendant, on the other hand, was ready to fight it out.
You believe as your biological father was dead.
Yes, Your
Until
Honor.
3 years ago when you discovered he was alive. You reached out to him only to have your heart broken when he denied being your dad. You and your mother are here to prove that Mr. Fullylove, whom you have never met, is your father.
Time to dive into the saucy origin story, folks. The plaintiff believed her dad was gone. But lo and behold, Mr. Fullylove was still kicking. Wow! And he also played hard to get, but with the role of the father in this case.
My mom hadn't seen him since she said he seen me when I was born. I believed he was deceased. A friend of the family, we ran into each other at the store. He heard the rumor that Mr. Fullylove was deceased. So we talked about Mr. Fullylove, and he said him and Mr. Fullylove are friends. So he gave me Mr. Fullylove's number.
Hold on to your hats, because doubts and reservations were floating around like ghosts at the Haunted Mansion. Yep, the baby daddy's wife played the holier-than-thou card, and pretty soon, the wife and the plaintiff were at each other's throats.
It devastated me also, you know.
Really?
And it devastated me.
Really? I even called you several times myself. He knew. The friend that my daughter is referring to came to me and said Jesse called him and told him, why did you give that woman my number?
That was 25 years later, though.
Get ready for the juiciest scoop. Now Miss Miles and Mr. Fullylove have quite the history together. It had more episodes than a Netflix series, and they claimed it was just one night. But who's counting, right?
Me and his only son, his only child at the moment, were best friends. Junior high school.
You were best friends with his son?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay.
And my son had just passed away when I.
I'm talking, okay?
No,
First of all,
no, baby. Oh, no, baby.
His son was killed by a train.
Time to solve the great puzzle of conception. The plot was getting more and more confusing. These guys were frisky, so much so, a funeral wasn't left behind for their activities. Their versions conflicted. No shock there.
Mr. Fullylove, do you remember asking Miss Miles to back it up?
Well, she was backing it up now.
Exactly.
She was backing.
So you remember that?
She was backing up and driving it down.
Oh!
Sure was.
Oh!
She was backing up and driving it down.
And I had your nose wide open.
Well, the baby mama blew up like Vesuvius on baby daddy. Saw that coming, as she had years of locked up frustration. And she set him right as to how she brought up their daughter all on her own. You go, girl! Meanwhile, he maintained he had no clue of her existence up until now.
Your Honor, don't make me do you up in this.
Do me up in here.
You are lying. You are lying.
Do me up.
Kendall was only 2 months old. Me and my mother was sitting on my porch. You came over there. Is that my baby? And I told you yes. And he rolled off into the sunset.
Next up, the alleged daughter got to tell the defendant how her life had been. And he still tooted the same tune as to why he wasn't contacted sooner. Guess he wanted to get another load of talk from the baby mama. And she delivered right out.
I called this man, left voice messages on his phone. Can you remember this? I called him.
Told me no 50.
Yeah, I called you, Jesse, several times.
You don't know. No.
I had some of your
number.
friends searching for his mother. Come to find out that she had died. I did try to find you. Yes, I did. And I shouldn't have to try to find you.
Hold on to your seats. We have reached the climax of this chaotic drama. It was years in the making. The results were in, and the tension was so thick, you could cut it with a lightsaber. Here goes nothing.
Mr. Fullylove, you are the father.
All right, gang, here comes another juicy case of paternity court. Mr. Young is here in court today to prove to Miss Nichols that he didn't father their 13-month-old daughter, Sine.
When you began your relationship and you refused to allow her to trap you with another man's baby.
Yes, Your Honor.
Why do you believe she's trying to pin a child on you?
Well, she's doesn't like the fact that I moved on and I have a new relationship, and she's all about getting money out of me. She knows that I was treating her good. She's been lying since the first time I met her, just making my life miserable.
So these guys went way back, and when their connection rekindled, it took off quite fast from there. An unexpected reunion and a dash of he said, she said drama. And ta-da! A recipe for paternity chaos.
On Facebook, talk about because she's been trying to find me and she's been wanting to see me. And so when she came over, she was still on the same thing she was when I first met her, trying to get back in the bed with me like always.
So there was no instant connection, like she said, Mr. Young?
I mean, no, there was no instant connection like that. I mean,
Your Honor,
I was getting out of a relationship, and then she hit me up like, hey, I want to come over, man. I ain't seen you in a long time.
Well, the friend turned out to be special, only for the baby mama though. But his friend was a real thorn in the side of Mr. Nichols. Why, you may ask? Because he strongly suspected him to be the father.
He's a friend of mine.
Do you have sex with him?
No, I do not.
You don't have
How
sex?
old is he?
73.
73. Whoa. He calls him your sugar daddy. What does he do for you?
Any and everything I ask him to.
Right, exactly.
And Your Honor, since he wants to go there, he had no problem with this man when we were hungry, and I would call him and he would bring us something to eat.
Get ready for another surprise, because it's hurtling down to you guys pretty fast. It seemed there was another guy in the mix as well, but the baby mama was still adamant that the defendant was her guy. And so the chaos continues.
She said she broke up in a relationship. Don't you mess around with people?
But
So
I was
with them.
broke up with him before I started messing with you, Sean.
So you was sleeping
He
with
was
them,
in
Donna.
jail. The man was in jail.
Yeah, okay.
I have not heard from this man.
Well, I heard from him constantly on Facebook telling me not to believe nothing you say, because you always sleeping around and you ain't never gonna stop messing with the sugar daddy. He himself told me that.
Up next, we got to see the reaction to the pregnancy news. It was well received initially, but then the dates didn't seem to add up. Bring out the conception calendar, people! Moreover, the results of the lie detector tests were also in, and they were full of surprises as well.
At first I did, but then when I started looking at the dates when the baby was born, the dates don't add up. The baby was due in August. She had her at the end of May, so how can that be my baby?
Hold on. Let me see if I can understand this. Do you remember the night you believe you conceived?
I say around the middle of November, around the 15th, give or take.
It was time we put an end to this wild ride and bring in some real concrete facts. These are the DNA results. Judge Lake had the real answers and was ready to deliver them to these guys. Here we go.
Mr. Young, you are her father.
Surprise, surprise.
Look right here.